I just can only think what baseball, once the season starts, what they're going to do to remember him by. So, and not only MLB in general, but also, of course, the Dodgers, that was his home. So just gives me chills to be talking about this and just remembering all of this. Moving on to something not as sad, and looking forward into the MLB season that was just around the corner. What did I say earlier, Ed? 38 days or something like that?
38 days, yep.
They start reporting and spring training starts. Woohoo! Let the countdown begin.
Are you going to be camping out at Salt River Fields? Is that what you're going to do? You think security will let you camp out for the players?
Let's try not to have me give you a call like at 2 a.m. for me to get me bailed out. So let's avoid that. Don't you think?
Yes.
No, I will not be camping out. As much as tempting as that sounds, no, I will be cozy in my bed. I prefer that, I think. So, but before we go into the baseball season and kicking that into higher gear, well, we might have some not so happy players, because we have a little bit of a spending freeze here. So, what's going to happen? We know with pandemic and a lot of baseball wasn't played this last season. It was a shortened baseball season, extremely short. Baseball MLB lost about $3 billion, I want to say, for all that, for all of those games and what was lost there. So I can only understand going on a spending freeze to kind of, offset that. And, what's going to happen? We have, we also have free agents out there. I know they're trying to get traded, trying to find a team that they can, call home. There's just like a little bit of, that up in the air. I just don't know, what's going to happen from here. PLR?
Hell if I know. Shoot. Heck if I know what they're doing. Baseball don't know what it's doing. I mean, everyone is finding it's hard to be out here in this devil COVID, and getting through seasons. Baseball felt it last year. They're going to feel it even more because it's even crazier now. So here's the best thing to do. Let's just go ahead and get the understanding and just know that players will miss, games will be canceled, things will be postponed. Plan 162 games, go with 140 if you can. If they just go in there with that mentality and trying to be perfect, I think they'll be okay. It's just that simple. I mean, in the NBA and MLB, players have to just understand they're not in a bubble. So you fly into a city, you go from that city, you go to your hotel, you eat your food at the hotel, you get back on the bus that's sanctioned, you go to the ballpark. And when the game is over, you wave across the diamond, you do your Zoom meeting, and you get back on that bus, and you go back to the hotel. That means that for 7 months, your life is baseball and being home with your family and hoping they don't get it and give it to you. But your days of going shopping in another city, going to a club, going out to eat, that's just not happening. And everyone can almost said it, gripe and moan all they want. Boy, that one almost came out. They could gripe and moan all they want, but no one's going to feel sorry for athletes making money that's forced to just go home when regular people are forced just to go home. So if that's the cross you have to bear to get an MLB season in without being locked in a bubble, shut the hell up, do what you're asked, play baseball. Just that simple.
Yeah. And MLB, they said that, well, they are expected to have spring training start in time and to play a full 162 game season. Well, we know MLB, we know the commissioner. If we go by what we saw last season, what do we expect for that not to happen? We can hope for the best, but then again, the best is not always the best.
But is that the commissioner's fault? Oh, okay, the commissioner did a piss poor job of getting the season going last year. We all know that. We all said that. He did a bad job negotiating and everything going. But the commissioner isn't out here spreading COVID. And so nobody has a handle on that anyway. So I think they should plow through with the idea they could get through spring training and get through a season. And I'm not the biggest baseball commissioner fan. I think he does a lot of dumb things. But on this one, I'm gonna hold the players to a different level because the players have to play the game, and they're the ones that have to follow the rules. Sure. And so the commissioner Manfred can put in rules or not put in rules or leave it up to teams or step back or do whatever. But when it comes time to actually perform, that's up to the players to understand what their commitment is, not just to their team, but to their city and to their and to their pocket. So it's up to them to do that. They're the ones that's making the ultimate sacrifice, knowing that they're not going to be able to live a normal life for this amount of time. But that's everybody. See, that's the whole thing I think we're doing with sports. We're saying, well, man, they can't do this, they can't do that. If you live in cities or states outside of Texas, Florida, and Arizona, you're not going into a restaurant tonight and sitting down and having dinner anyway. If you live in California, you can't walk into Applebee's and have dinner. If you live in Illinois or New York or Arkansas, you can't just walk inside a packed restaurant and have dinner. So when they say that, sometimes certain athletes, the sacrifice they have to make, we know it. But hell, we're making it every day in life. So they just got to plow through this. The games are there to be played. Minimize the fans. It's open air, most stadiums. Minimize the fans. Do the games. Understand you're going to lose games. And you get through the best you can. I mean, that's really all you can do.
Yeah, they're going to have to follow the same model that the NBA is kind of doing right now. You know, the NBA is trying to work with the Players Association as far as we talked about earlier in the show, Joe, about with, like Paul said, with the restaurants and the way the players eat and the way they convene pregame and postgame. I'm sure MLB is going to have to do the same thing as far as the players for each team and opposing teams, how they meet up before games, how they meet up and chat afterwards, how often they wear their masks. Like the NFL has required everybody on sidelines to wear masks when you're not playing. Everybody is masked up. You see it now. Even in the national championship game last night, everybody's masked up. That's one of the major parts of trying to eliminate and eradicate this COVID, this devil that PLR talks about. Mask wearing, and like Paul said, with all this travel, like the NBA, when you get on that plane, you get on the bus, hotel. There's no messing around going around the city. And as he said, go to clubs and go to dinner. That stuff is out until we get this thing under control and we can get back to an even more sense of normalcy. These guys are just going to have to roll with the punches. And if they can get 162 in, cool. If, like Paul said, you get in 135 or 140 and you get some modicum of a spring training season together, that's what it's going to have to be. But it's, as the NBA and the NFL, it's a fluid situation. We won't know until like the day of on a lot of these situations, just like we have with the NBA right now. This devil thing is just running through these teams like it's nothing. It's running through these things like Walter Payton. You like how I dropped that Walter Payton in there, Paul? You like that, huh?
The greatest ever.
Yeah, the greatest ever.
The greatest ever. Yeah.
Yep. Sweetness.
So I wanna ask this because we know each league is following by their own rules or creating their own rules and and etc. MLB, Major League Baseball, didn't have and follow some we know players didn't follow those rules or the best model out there. And we've seen it not only in MLB, but we've seen it in NFL, we've seen it in NBA, where we have these athletes, players going out and not following the rules, going out to places and being exposed or getting themselves exposed. So maybe of having some type of repercussion for those that decide to not abide by the rules and be out of line and calming down, hey, we saw the whole situation, or something of a situation that happens, like with the World Series, just circling back to Turner's situation, and the mask and exposure and all of that. So getting the reins on that, because if you don't put a model out there, if you don't have, repercussions that that happen because of somebody not abiding by it, I don't know. I think there's something needs to happen, have it be a lot more stricter. We saw what happened with the NBA. They were able to put a model together. It's not, I know it's not always going to be perfect. And then, you're going to have to get out there and play these games. And, and like you say, PLR, just live baseball, live and breathe baseball. You're going to not be going out. You're not going to be, seeing, friends and family going out to eat, etc. Just, be on your own little bubble and have these organizations and have these leagues make sure that their players are following these set rules.
Yeah. Okay. So here's where I say we got to be real careful with that, because the NBA, for example, they've outlawed marijuana testing this year. They're not outlawing marijuana testing because they're like, oh, cool, let's everybody get high. They did it because what they don't want to do is suspend people for something when they already know they're going to lose games and names because of COVID. So the MLB's got to be real careful with that, and the players' league, the players' union, I'm sure will keep that in mind in negotiation. Because if you start suspending players for things, you're now starting to hurt your own bottom line. And I know what happened with Turner last year at the end, and I thought it was selfish, and I didn't think it was cool. But let's back this up for a second. Say he did that in the National League Championship, and he got suspended. Whose arms go in the air first? The team he's playing or the team he's playing for, saying, wait a second now, you're suspending our guy. He would have cleared protocol maybe by game 5 or 6 if we needed him to come back, and now you've suspended him. So not only does he have to be out for COVID, now he's got to be out for a suspension. You're hampering us. Remember, teams complain when it happens to them. They never complain when it happens for them. So the union will always side with the player. That's why I'm saying we got to be careful with creating so many rules that we do certain things. Ed, you know this, and you remember me saying this. There's going to come a time within the next 6 months where guys are just going to be playing with COVID-like symptoms. If they're asymptomatic, they're going to tell them to hold off for a couple of days and go play. Because the one thing that this country is not going to do is keep losing money if the country is showing, be it fair or not, but if the country is showing 98% or 99% of the people recover from it, and a higher 99% of that in people under the age of 40 with no comorbidities are recovering even faster, billionaires aren't going to sit here and keep losing this money. It's just not going to happen. That's not how they got to be billionaires.
That's right.
We're fortunate. We're talking to a billionaire. That's why we should refer to him, because he is a billionaire. So he didn't get to be that rich by deferring money. Isn't that right, Mr. Billionaire?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Is somebody else on the Zoom call? Because you ain't talking to me.
No, Ed Cole.
You're right, Paul. I mean, look at the NFL. They did everything they had to do to get 256 games in, because those owners, as you said, they're tired of losing money. They know there's little to no fans in a lot of those games, and they're like, okay, we're going to push through this thing. You saw with the Steelers and the Ravens, how many times they rescheduled that game because they knew how important that was. They had to get that game in. The Steelers had to get that Washington game in. They had to get all their games in, and they didn't play for like almost 2 weeks. But doggone it if they didn't get all 16 of their games in, because revenue, money talks. All three of us know that. Oh
yes, we do know that. And speaking about money talks, let me go ahead and throw this out there. This just happened, and PLR, I have to see what your emotions are about this because it is your favorite White Sox.